T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
I'm T-Dog.
Yes, from the cicada capital of the world. Hey, wait, listen. No more cicadas. We'll see those guys again in 17 years. This is sports and other stuff. Here's what we have. The Supreme Court rules in favor of athletes. Carl Nassib comes out, and we have some AFC East ideas. So let's start with the NCAA. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote that sports traditions, quote, cannot justify the NCAA's decision to build a massive money-raising enterprise on the backs of student athletes who are not fairly compensated, end of quote. So, guys, how do we see this playing out?
I think it's about time, don't you? I mean, these, this whole thing, amateurism, that's just nonsense. Let's cut this out.
Student athlete,
amateurism, that's nonsense. These guys are making millions. Well, NCAA makes $1 billion a year and has no oversight. It's time. That's my opinion. It has been for a long time. These guys need to be paid. Just pure and simple. They need to get a piece of that pie.
Okay, for the record, Lugs, that was your shortest take ever on this program. Next.
I was just going to say, Andy Staples wrote a great article just in terms of going with what Lugs has said. The NCAA men's basketball tournament is worth $1 billion a year in TV revenue.
Amazing.
The current college football playoff system is worth $470 million, and that's with 4 teams. So obviously now that they've expanded it, it's probably going to be triple, correct?
You would think.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last one, I believe CBS currently for the next, 2 years has this SEC Game of the Week. I believe they paid $56 million a year for that game. I believe in 2023, ESPN takes over it. They paid $300 million a year for it. So they just completely blew out what was the last deal out of the water. So for them to be like, oh, we can't pay these kids, we can't allow these kids to profit from what they are, what they're getting. It was pretty asinine. So, and obviously the Supreme Court agreed because no one voted for the NCAA. It was a 9-0.
That's what you call a shutout right there. So what does it mean to us as fans? What do you guys think will change?
I don't think a whole lot will change because the guys that are in and one woman as of last year that are in football especially, it'll all still go on, but this isn't actually paying them. It has, the upshot of it is they can have like laptops and other things more, but they're not going to get paid directly. So that's still down the road, but it's coming. And I still go back to somebody has to oversee the NCAA. This, the way they meet and decide things, no, it just, with this kind of money on the line, we need some oversight.
Well, the funny thing is again, to go back to Andy Staples' thing, the funny thing is, I guess the NCAA felt with obviously so many Supreme Court justices being, seen as conservative, they thought, well, they would vote for the status quo. But they essentially positioned themselves between the right that believes in free market and then the left that believes in workers' rights. So obviously it was the Venn diagram where they came together, and the NCAA really didn't see that. It was just like, it was not a well prepared plan because now, it was the highest court. So, and again, Kavanaugh pretty much said, they're not really going to set guidelines, but just be aware that anything where you try to dispute someone getting paid, we will deem it illegal. Like they don't have time, but like they're essentially saying you can bring anything up, but we're already gonna say it's illegal. So
give them the money.
I think the thing will be fascinating. I think some of the ways that they will be able to make money in the future is social media, autograph sales, which obviously is like probably the oldest of any of these. YouTube channels, Twitter videos. This is the really seedy one. I will admit. Obviously, this is the problem too. I agree they should get paid, but this will be seedy. Private training lessons.
What is that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe they'll get a podcast or two, huh?
I'm just saying, with what's happening right now with Deshaun Watson, I don't know if that's a good idea to have private training sessions. I don't know. They should keep it open in a college setting. But anyway, merchandise, and I guess like Rex Chapman was talking about that on Dan Patrick's show today. All these shirts that were just fairly just generic to say "I love Rex" with a heart, like they were everywhere. And obviously, you didn't see a dime. And endorsement deals, which also can be, I don't know, it can be shady. I will admit, I think they should get paid, but yeah, like with everything, it's always double edged. There is, because you look at like a lot of the schools that have July 1st. Alabama is one. I don't have the list in front of me. Mm-hmm. It's like Alabama, South Carolina, I think Texas, like all these schools that are just, we want to dominate college football, and they're going to dominate college football because they're already going to these schools that are great, and they're on the addition, they're going to make money right off the jump.
Perhaps those should be chaperoned training sessions, private training.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, here we go. Court talk, and now we'll get into this talk too. Carl Nassib becomes the NFL's first openly gay player. He said, quote, "I'm not doing it for attention. I just think it's representation and visibility that are so important. I'm a pretty private person, so I hope you guys know that I'm really not doing this for the attention." So a big step in the NFL's future.
Well, and let's be honest, we're in a different era now. He was basically welcomed by lots of players and coaches. But if you go back 7 years to 2014, and Michael Sam admitted he was the first. He was never signed. He was going to be one of the top players until he came out, but he was never signed and he never played, and he was ridiculed. So that shows that we've changed somewhat on this issue. So Michael Sam sort of paved the way. He took the brunt of the heat.
Yep.
And I got to say that for Nassib to come out in Vegas would have been easier than him coming out in Cleveland when he was playing in Cleveland. It's timing, and it's also place in this case, I think. But, there have been after the fact guys who have admitted I'm gay, who were former players. Hey, this is a brutal sport. It doesn't matter what your sexuality is, man. If you're paid to be on defense, you're there to stop a running back, stop whomever. And on offense, you're paid to score, and that's it. So good for him if it makes him feel better and also helps some of the younger kids who are facing some tough issues. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, I think it's more. I am definitely not belittling Michael Sam. I just think it obviously Nassib is just so much more important because he's been in the league for multiple years. 2 of which, I know these aren't like high sack level years, but he had 2 years with the Bucs where he had at least 6 sacks. So like he's been a solid contributor. He has played multiple years in the NFL. He got paid a decent contract to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. So like I think that's why it means more. And also just how he just didn't make it about himself. Like he said, he's going to contribute $100,000 to the Trevor Project, which offers crisis intervention to suicide prevention for services to LGBTQ youths. Because he brought up 1.8 million LGBTQs seriously consider suicide each year. So I mean that is a great statement. And then the GLAAD president, to quote her, she says it sends a strong message to so many in the LGBTQ community, especially the youth, that they too can one day grow up and be successful in a professional sport like him. So I think it is, and I just say I think Lugs maybe brought this up. I was just astonished it took this long. So I think it'll become more regular now. And I know he's not a superstar, but like I said, I think he's a good player. So like I think it does actually add more weight to him coming out. So
Yeah, the time has come. The time is now, and good for him. And like you said, will pave the way for many more in the future and for other sports as well. So we salute Carl and his decision to come out. All right, so we wanted to talk a little bit tonight about the AFC East. Let's just recap last year, shall we? Buffalo was 13-3. The Dolphins were 10-6. New England was 7-9, and the pitiful Jets, are they still an NFL team? I'm not sure. They were 2-14 last year. So what do you guys think about the coming year as we get into late June, almost July now?
Well, the cream of the crop at this point has to be the Buffalo Bills, but we can talk about Miami and the Patriots. I think the Jets, I don't see them doing much. Maybe wins, 3 wins, maybe. So, T-Dog, go ahead and tag off, my friend.
Anyway, I guess, I'll start at the bottom on who I think is the bottom in the division. And then we could go on to other teams. We could just work our way around. And maybe Lugs could. I'll say. So I have the Jets. I agree with Lugs. The Jets are obviously they got a new coach, Robert Saleh. They have a new quarterback in Wilson. They have a new probably top wide receiver in Elijah Moore from Ole Miss. I looked at the strengths of the team, and I know this is harsh. And I'm not saying they aren't solid in server. I just don't see a strength on this team right now. I think Zach Wilson has potential to be good. Carter, the running back from North Carolina, who's also a rookie, I think could be actually I think he could be a star fairly quickly. And I think Elijah Moore, like you hear him at camp, it sounds like he is the guy that everyone's looking at. But they don't have. I mean. Hopefully Saleh will build them up, but I just see them as a 5-12 team at best. That's their best case scenario. So their main weakness, though, I will say, is their pass defense. They allowed 34 passing touchdowns and over 400 yards passing. So definitely Saleh has got to get some quarters defense going. So I'm just saying, they're the bottom of the barrel.
But will Zach Wilson get any protection at all, or will he be this year's Joe Burrow?
I think their offensive line is pretty good. It's not great, but I think the left guard and left tackle are good enough to kind of protect him somewhat. But I mean, he's definitely going to on occasion be running for his life. I would be concerned about him knowing the playbook and the receivers knowing the playbook. Running backs, usually that's pretty straightforward. You're going to hit the A gap, B gap, whatever. But all of those, if the cornerback is on the outside and you make this move and that sort of thing for receivers and the quarterback, that's tough to get.
Check you out, man, talking about the A gap and the B gap. Dang. Wow.
I went to the gap yesterday.
Did you? Did you get the denim, or did you go for the?
I went for the khaki.
Well, it's always a smart choice.
Chinos, man. Comfort fit.
Amen to that. Next.
Next, I have
comfort fit.
I think in terms of records, I have the Dolphins having the second lowest. Which it sounds bad, obviously, in this division. But I think the main reason I wanted to go with this division off the top, I think this is the most fascinating division this next year, just in terms of teams. I have them their strength, I think,